me the public hearing minutes of March 26th, March 27th, April 17th, Charter Commission meeting, and an amendment to the minutes of April 10th. There was an omission, one-page omission on the minutes as submitted to you. Also, I presented to you the action statement you have received before, completed articles for the preliminary. Is there?
Mr. Chairman,
Motion?
would you please repeat the statement? Oh, you have given us, this is copies of that we have approved, the ones.
No, the March 26th and March 27th public hearing minutes are presented to you tonight, along with the April 17th minutes and the amendment to the April 10th minutes, the page that was missing, presented to you before.
Now, all of these things having to do with Section 8, casting special assessments and service areas, are those all things that we have not taken action on?
All these are ones that we have taken action on.
We've taken action on all these?
Good.
These are all final. Okay, we did on the service areas. Okay.
More paper.
Move
Alicia.
over the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Move second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In one of the minutes of the regular meeting, it said, it asked that Mr. Garnett would get together with Sheila Gallagher about the power of the school board 9/25.
Who asked about that?
It was stated that you would get together with Sheila Gallagher to talk about the powers of the school.
I see she on a very regular basis on other matters, but I haven't on this specific one. Since we left the powers wide open, I wasn't sure exactly what we were talking about. I'm perfectly down to meet with you. She has something else to say. Sure. I hear a motion for approval. Yes. And a second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Being no opposition, so ordered. We have a gentleman here tonight who's requested to be heard for us during districting. Mr. Bertram Jerome.
Stand or you want me to run?
Come be comfortable.
Enjoy it.
Come be comfortable. Just because we got stuff spread out, that doesn't mean you can't sit with us.
I don't have any notes prepared. I will have to say I apologize that I haven't been keeping up with the Charter Commission newspaper. I am from Eagle River and I've been involved in other battles out there. It did come to my attention that the commission, and I could be wrong on this, was going to decide or will soon decide how they're going to district or how they plan to district Greater Anchorage area if we are unified. And if this is the case, this is the reason why I'm here. And I feel that, and I can say I can speak on behalf of many people, that districting should be in proportion to the population. Thus, a one man, one vote rule. As if you've read in the newspapers, one of the contentions for that new borough out there was because people were complaining about lack of representation in the borough. thing is that if the person, if we go through this at-large type vote, or whatever, councilman, whatever you're going to call them, I believe that the people, say in Eagle River, Chudiak, and other places in outlying areas of the Greater Anchorage area, will feel that they are not being represented fully, that they will have nobody that they can answer to, or they can answer to them their specific needs. Whether or not we'll say that if you have people running at large who could possibly be men of integrity or women of integrity, and I would assume that the greater amount of people would come from the core of it, which is would be the downtown area. You still have this type of stigma, and I'm not degrading anybody when I say this, but it would be that feeling of the people on the outside areas. And I think also that even if men of integrity or women of integrity, we all have personal feelings towards a particular area. And even though we would probably want to be objective in our viewpoints on, we'll say, voting matters or consideration for improvements in certain areas, we would still think of our own particular little district. Now, if we have a district set up so that we'll say that Eagle River, Chudiak is represented, Birchwood's represented, Muldoon area is represented, then you would have the input of various people with various ideas. I think it would be very healthy politically. You wouldn't have anybody ganging up if the case would rise, and I'm sure we've all read about or know of situations like this in other parts of the country. I think it would be politically healthy. You'd have politicians in positions where they would have to give and take. They would have to listen to ideas of other people representing different areas of the Greater Anchorage area borough, so that they could come at a healthy solution. Also, if we'll say that, and I'll speak in my area, that if a councilman or whatever this person will be called, assemblyman, if he does vote on an issue that I'm not, or the people out there are not in favor of, at least he can come back to our area and explain to us why he voted on a particular issue. Maybe it would have to do with something we'll see in the downtown area, and nothing against the downtown area. And I work down there, and most of the people out in Eagle River, Chudiak, all work down in the area. It's the most important part of the Anchorage Bowl. But at least he would be able to come back to the people and explain and give a reason why he voted. And people, I would assume, would take his explanation and would take with all honesty. Whereas if you had somebody who wasn't representing the area, would come out there and if we would try to explain it, people would have, well, they just wouldn't believe him, I don't think. And I think the best proof of this is when a few people in the Eagle River, Chudiak area tried to set up their own borough, and it's all based on this one factor, not one, but of many, and a lack of representation, feeling that being serviced. I don't believe that's true, but anyways, you do have this, you would have this problem. And based on this, on behalf of some people that I have talked to, people who previously had voted against unification, and because of what has happened, they would, right today, they would vote for unification. But I think they would have second thoughts if they felt the community wasn't going to be involved in the planning or in the growth of the Greater Anchorage area.
I appreciate your comments. One thing, though, in the earlier, when Mr. Willis and prior to that, Mr. Briggs and who else, I can't recall right now, when we did have you were a part of the borough, and there was a representative from the Eagle River area. Of course, it also had to, because of this one man, one vote, take in a part of the Muldoon area. Really, don't you feel that same situation would pretty much exist even if we went to, say, the district plan? And you did make a comment that you felt that was one of the reasons that the people moved toward a new borough. I'm just wondering if we would be able to better that situation.
Okay, I realize that there was representatives out there, and I'm grateful for that. I think a lot of I think it's a lack of education, possibly, that they didn't realize they were being represented from that area. Now, what I'm not blaming Briggs, I'm not blaming Briggs said it when the area was much smaller, and also as well as an area has grown tremendously. I possibly could say that possibly they should have gone out there a little bit more and campaigned more, or put something in newspapers to let people know that they were being represented. But you'd be surprised of the number of people that I talked to when I was part of one of three of us who raised money for the lawsuit. And I found out myself on how little I knew about the government, because people raised a lot of questions to me about roads, about schools, that I had no answers to, that I went down and finally found out myself. And they didn't even realize what the borough was doing and what they lacked in services. And I would have to say I would have to blame it on the borough, I'd have to blame it on the representative, I'd have to blame it on the people themselves for not looking into or making inquiries with the Greater Anchorage Area Borough. I think it's a combination of all. But the feeling is being what it is today out there, and I'm not sure if that feeling is throughout the area of the Greater Anchorage area. I would hate to see the people out there not being represented. Whether or not, I'm not just saying from Eagle River, but we'll say it could include Muldoon. That's how our representatives are elected and our senators. But at least someone we can answer to. And also, it would be a situation where people would know that at least they had somebody out there when it came up for the vote. I think, because after this last fiasco, we are, quite a few of us are there with unification. I can see this happen again.
I wonder if I could ask just one other question. I've kept in close touch with a number of people out in the area through the Planning Commission and other relationships. And I've talked to a couple, and they seem that they say there's some rumor going or a feeling that the people there would not have an opportunity to vote on the actual charter. Have you heard that? And it isn't true that they would have that opportunity, and I just wondered if that was a rumor that was floating around.
No, I haven't heard it.
It has not come to your attention.
No, not at the present time. I'm sure it just, some people don't read. They don't pick up the paper, they don't read, and you can put all kinds of things on the paper. They believe their neighbors. A lot of people out there are pseudo lawyers, or they heard something and they just passed the word on that way.
What's a pseudo lawyer? What's not a pseudo lawyer?
That was our lawyer.
I don't know, maybe I just got it. What I meant is that a lot of people think they're lawyers.
Oh, no, I'm kidding. Great, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Parsons, I think Liz Brody has to say.
Mr. Gruen, we have been wondering what would be the best way to talk to people out there to try to find out what things they think are necessary in the charter to make it a better government that would be more responsive to them.
I think through the PTA, through the PTA, possibly at a high school, calling a meeting at the high school.
When does the PTA meet? That's the elementary school. You're
Yes.
talking about Homestead or
Right, well, Homestead
or in Eagle River, the one.
maybe once a month. And I forgot what day, although I used to be president of the PTA, I forgot what day it was on. I believe it was on Thursday, it was on Thursday night. And the high school has no PTA, and then also there's the church. The Methodist Church has opened its doors up for people who were interested in local government. Now, again, whether or not the people would come is, I don't
This is
know.
what I'm trying to find out. Do you think that they would be willing to come and tell us what they think is needed
I would love
to
to
make
lie.
the new government better?
I would love to lie and say yes, but I really don't know. I can't answer that. Some people are interested, and some people are willing to sit back and let everybody else do the work and then complain.
I'm aware of this, but I know that there are a number that are truly interested. And we don't want them to feel left out, that they haven't had an input into it, whether or not they have somebody sitting among the 11 or not.
Parsons?
Drew, you mentioned that the at-large concept is one that you don't prefer.
Yes.
Do you have a specific kind of enforcement you'd like? There are two or three that have been talked about. One is that there's the very small district, that is one member for each of the 9 or 11 councils on the thing. Another is multi-member that we now have. Another suggestion has been perhaps most elected either for multi-member or single-member districts and a few elected at large. Do you have any?
Personally, I'd rather see in the smaller districts. I think then people would feel that they had a voice, or if they had a complaint, they would have something they could go to. And I think the man could serve his community plus the area much better. Like I pointed out before, that if he did vote for a particular item that did not concern his district, but concern, we'll say, to the people's eyes, that maybe just represented, say, the downtown core area of Anchorage, he could come back and people and explain the reasons why, how important that was, or the reason why he voted for that area, how it would benefit him. A lot of people just feel that, well, you know, if a person votes a particular way, we'll say for the downtown area, they feel that is where their interest lies, which in truth, it will benefit everybody.
Do you have any other input or any other people that you think should be giving us input that might be interested in being here?
Yes, like a recommended person would be Ernie Brandon. Brandon, yes. He was ran for the school district.
board?
Yeah, school board out there. And the reason why he ran for the school board was just to protect our schools in case we didn't get this canceled out in court.
Teacher,
Pardon?
teacher.
I don't know if he is a teacher. He works for HEW now.
I'm curious, Drew, too. I'm sure there's going to be pseudo-lawyer comments about the constitution of this body with your area not having voted members of this body. Do you feel that if we decided to hold a public hearing in that area, that we've had some fine response from the areas we've been in, did not include that because of the situation, not knowing the party. Do you feel that people would come to address their problems, as Mary has stated? We don't want to get embroiled in the hassle of the legality of this organization. We are interested in seeing that everyone, in whatever are the limits of the borough, has an input and an opportunity to have their say in the creation of the document.
I would hope that people would be interested and would come. I would also have to warn you, if you did come out there, you're going to have a lot of rednecks out there. And if the chair can really set the rules at the beginning of the meeting, and we'll say set time limits, and also more or less really control it with an iron hand, I think this is what is going to have to happen out that particular area. I would say, yes, you'd get a good response. I contradicted my answer to you, Mary.
I've been out there when there've been good hearings. I'm not contradicting your statement, so.
Are there any other questions, Mr. Drone?
Appreciate your comment.
Certainly appreciate your being here and giving us.
And you're welcome to stay if you want to see what happens.
Well, I want you, if I could stay just for the Seagull River. If I can tell you that, if I can just, there's a lot of us also out there, we know we didn't vote on the commission, but we don't feel slighted in that respect. We understand what the problem was and everything, and of course you're going to have that few out there who will think that.
We like some of you, don't we? Yes,
We're not that bad out there.
you're welcome to stay. All of our meetings, so.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to just stay for this. Thank you.
Mr. Drew, we're also going to be talking about the composition, so you might want to stick around.
That's the next thing right after. That's what we're working on tonight.
You have the benefit of the debate on it.
I was going to debate.
Oh, no, I said you can get the benefit of the debate.
Argumentation or debate, if I have to call it.
Mr. Josephson, under unfinished business, we have here before us.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Sunday's informal subcommittee meeting on the Eagle River problem produced the idea that I would call Lee Jordan and raise with him the question of a public hearing in the Eagle River Chugiak area. I think the group also wanted me to draft a statement that could be used after the hearing and in press releases for the hearing to make it absolutely clear that the commission was not trying to prejudice any efforts in the Eagle River Chugiak area towards formation of a separate borough. But that was a matter not in our prerogatives, but within those of the Local Boundary Commission and ultimately the legislature. For the benefit of those who weren't at that subcommittee meeting, one of the early considerations went to whether or not we should even try to have a vote on the charter while those actions in the Eagle River Chugiak area to get their separate borough status were still pending. And it was thought that since even if the Local Boundary Commission's response to the final answer wouldn't be forthcoming at least until 45 days, as long as 45 days into the next session of 1976, the next regular legislative session, but that forbearing until that point would simply not be a reasonable course for us to follow. And therefore, it seemed better to make an approach to leadership in Eagle River and let them know that we had dilemma just like they did. That we didn't intend to walk off from our duties, but we did want to involve them, they wished to be involved. And the attorney was asked, Renette was asked to consider drafting some type of provision for our charter, which as a transitional statement could take note of the tendency of a borough formation petition and indicate our intent not to prejudice those efforts in the Eagle River Chugiak area. I did call Mr. Jordan in my memorandum, which you have.
outlines the result. He was, I think, very forthcoming and cordial to me, but he was not enthusiastic about a public hearing, at least until there had been an opportunity for the Charter Commission or a segment of the Charter Commission to go up to Eagle River and meet with his elected assembly. The reasons for his lack of receptivity to the idea of a public meeting are set out in the memorandum. I think he just felt it confused the issue, create hostility, just muddy the waters generally, and unless there's a very careful groundwork laid, be non-productive or counterproductive to us and to him and to the people he's working with. And he, like Mr. Druin, made the reference to redneck and said that we would encounter it. But he didn't rule out the idea of a public hearing. He just, I think, he entertained that as a possibility, but felt that we should explain our situation to him and face-to-face first. I said that I would report back to the commission tonight with that information. And while we didn't set any date, I said that one possibility was to meet a week from tonight up there. And I would let him know tonight if the Charter Commission wanted to proceed with that. One element that came up was that we didn't really address in the conversation was that I think he was talking and I was talking about a private meeting. Last paragraph of my memo, I'm noting that while I don't think it has to be billed as a public hearing and with public invitation, that perhaps we should think of it as a workshop session and go through some, not lock the door and lock people out, because that might be misunderstood. I did not prepare a formal statement, but I recited with Mr. Jordan the elements of the kind of statement that the chairman, whether it was you or I, depending on the timing, would make if a hearing were held. He understood that, and I might add, he inserted the point that's been put in the memo that while he appreciates that we don't want to upset their efforts, he didn't really think that Chugiak and the River people wanted to prohibit the rest of the people of the Anchorage Bowl from having the implications they wanted. He wasn't trying to mess us up either.
Your suggestion then is that we hold a meeting with the Assembly as a workshop to explore the situation next Wednesday night.
I think the date might be flexible, but he thought evenings were better for his group than daytime.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion from the Charter Commission?
Mr. Chairman, just before this meeting, I was going over our schedule, and I think the idea of having a meeting, like Joe suggests, is an excellent one. We're looking at, after this week, only 2 more weeks until we're supposed to have the draft out to the public, or ready to be printed for the public. If we take one of our 2 meetings one of our 2 scheduled meetings for next week, and use that to go up to Eagle River,
Wednesday, we didn't have one scheduled.
well, it's not on your calendar yet. But we are going to need more than one meeting next week, and I think we have to discuss, along with when we go out to Eagle River, when we plan to have another meeting, maybe a Tuesday night meeting for charter production, a Wednesday night meeting in Eagle River, and a Thursday night meeting for drafting. We have a heavy schedule coming up if we intend to meet the deadline, which is already pushed off a week.
We need to get out to Indian and to Girdwood too, remember? And when can folks go out there? And then we've got to do it before we finish the production if we're having input from.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the following week, the one that ends the 10th, is the one that had been planned for review of everything and putting everything together. That leaves us only next week to do the first draft of about 4 more articles.
I'm wondering if we could go one place or the other this Friday
Noon?
night. We've got a noon meeting on Friday scheduled, at least on mine.
On the 25th?
25th. No, we don't. No, I'm talking about night.
Friday evening, you're talking about like
This Friday evening, I'm wondering if we could,
the 25th.
go one place or the other on Friday evening. Girdwood or Eagle River. Indian.
Mr. Chairman, I would not be available on Friday, and I will be out of town.
I will be meeting.
I'm leaving.
Leaving tonight again?
I flew out just to be with you here tonight.
Man, you got it made.
You're leaving in the morning?
He said tonight.
I'm leaving at 1 a.m. tonight.
You're leaving tomorrow night?
And I'm leaving at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Have fun.
I knew it was going to come out, Joe.
I didn't know what at large meant. Anyway.
Sherry, would a Friday the 2nd meeting be reasonable from the standpoint of getting in an extra production meeting, consideration meeting, and the 30th out at Eagle River?
Mr. Chairman, were you speaking of a noon meeting on the 2nd? Or a night meeting?
Night meetings out in these communities.
No,
I was talking about a charter commission.
Oh,
No meeting would be fine with me. It's up to the, what's convenient
Mr.
for
Chairman, the only thing is that we have 3 hours when we have a night meeting, and we generally only have an hour or an hour and a half in a noon meeting. And we have, I think, more work than we can possibly do even if we just have 2 night meetings next week and the following week. I know that Evie has been talking about scheduling Vic Fisher to come on Wednesday night next week to talk with us, and that's going to take up some time. And that also conflicts with the night that Joe thought of going up Eagle River. I would not be opposed to meeting on Tuesday night next week for...
well, then Joe wouldn't have the opportunity to be there.
I mean, not a subcommittee meeting, but a commission meeting to adopt articles.
Joe will need to be there, it would seem to me. You mean for the Eagle River?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there'll be a carry-through here somewhere.
Mr. Chairman, could we perhaps meet the following week in Eagle River? Do we...
Well, we could, Sherry. There are 2 questions. One, whether it's good to keep this thing sort of dangling that long. And 2, if there's going to be a public meeting, whether it takes on the appearance of being moot because we've gone out so late. Yeah.
I feel that it's essential that we do a not avoid responding very similar to what we talked about Sunday, unless I had just refused to answer questions.
So what's your
So what I'm telling you is that there's going to be information that we are going to offer to meet in Eagle River. And it no doubt will be in the paper tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Why don't we figure on the 30th as being a meeting at Eagle River with the folks out there. And then attempt a long Friday noon meeting, or else Tuesday,
This Friday?
What?
This Friday, 25th.
We could have one this Friday.
We don't have the
25th.
material.
We don't have the material ready.
We don't have the material ready, because it's based on.
It's based on what's going to be done tonight.
You're talking about next Friday, the week from, you're talking about May the 2nd, or
Right.
what Friday we're talking about?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Second. Mr. Chairman, I would feel more comfortable if we had a Tuesday and a Thursday drafting meeting and left noon on Friday to do the extra stuff that we might not get done. That is if
You'd
the
like a Tuesday
commission,
noon and a Thursday noon
Here
drafting.
goes your light on.
Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Friday
What
night.
are you proposing to take up Tuesday night? It will be very difficult to meet these guys.
We would probably put into form the things that we discussed tonight.
Chairman, I cannot attend Tuesday the 29th.
And either Tuesday or Thursday.
I can be suitable, but I can't.
Can't on Tuesday. So how about noon on Tuesday?
Can,
And try to stretch it, 11:30 to 1:30. At least get in 2 hours.
That would be agreeable.
And you probably have a full commission meeting, right?
Yes. That's what you'd want, would it not, Sherry,
Yes.
for your purposes?
how many can?
Noon on
The 29th,
11:30,
29th.
29th to about 1:30.
11:30 to 1:30.
That's what you said, well, I could change my schedule.
Is it possible that we could meet at Bill's place and
Have
have sandwiches?
Could you arrange the restaurant or?
Let's do it, the restaurant, it can be in a private room and have lunch and meet at the same time if you want to.
Fine,
There's a private boardroom for dozens, so.
fine.
Yeah.
11:30?
What's the, where, somebody done,
Oh.
which like those?
April 30, go to Eagle
That's
River.
29th.
April 29th, 11:30 to 1:30. Yeah, but that's on
Oh,
Tuesday.
but I missed the rest.
Mr. Chairman, am I correct that we have a noon meeting on the 29th from 11:30 to 1:30 at the restaurant, a meeting in Eagle River, location not yet stated, at 7:30, and May 1st here,
Right.
right?
I may miss the Wednesday, I don't know, I've got to leave town.
I may have a
Tuesday
problem.
afternoon at 2:30, so. I'll just have to-
I think that's the best we can do, and we'll just have to make do with it.
Okay, well, Chairman, during this meeting, I'll excuse myself. I'll call Mr. Jordan and ask him to designate a place, and then I'll come back and let you know.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, just like to make one comment. I think it's excellent to meet with the assembly, but I feel personally that no one person at this time can really give a reading of what the community feels, and I feel this is also true about the assembly, and I still feel a responsibility to go out and listen to the people, want to do it in, if, you know, politic a way, and I think this is appropriate, but I still think we need to hear and give the people, I'm not afraid, they're not going to come and hang us all in
Well,
effigy. We
yeah.
need to communicate.
I think I made it clear to him that we weren't, as you notice in the second paragraph, that we weren't having him exert a veto over a committee
Right.
judgment that we should have a hearing, but we were consulting him and seeking advice, making criticism.
Mr. Chairman,
Mary?
Joe, I sort of have a feeling that if it's possible to sort of twist this around a little bit and suggest that really we're going to have a hearing and we're so short of schedule that we would like to hear them first and give them the courtesy of the first go to the assembly and have it an open meeting. Because I don't think we can go without having an open meeting in Eagle River, and if we put it on, it'll be post facto instead of before. And I really feel very strongly about this. If we could have a noon meeting with the assembly and an evening meeting with the open public, that would be fine if he wants to do it that way. But we've got to have an open meeting where the folks are invited.
Jane?
Mr. Chairman, in response to that, Mary, I just wondered how much changing in the work that we've already done would occur.
I doubt that what they will have to say will make a great many changes, but we have to give them the opportunity to tell us whether they think there's some particular things that are very important.
Mr. Dillon had a comment, I think. We
But
appreciate
is it out of order if I can say something?
No, we appreciate
Go ahead.
it.
In respect to Mr. Jordan, he's not a leader out there. Neither is the assembly. We don't have a borough anymore. We're part of the Greater Anchorage Area Borough. Also, in the view that he does have a newspaper, and I would hate to see just the Mr. Jordan and the assembly there, we'll say at a private meeting, without having representation from other people. Now, just prior to the court decision, we were out getting signatures for a petition because we were afraid the court was not going to act at the time soon enough, prior to July 1st. And out of the names, in 2 hours, I got 60 names. Out of the 60 names, I had people who were signing that petition to come back to the Greater Anchorage Area Borough, who had previously voted for the borough. I don't think, I think Mr. Jordan, I would be glad to tell him face to face. I believe that he is giving a false impression that he's representing the majority of the people out there. He is not. We don't have any big leaders where they are representing over 50%.
Mr. Jordan?
Mr. Drew, I say our problem, we consulted Senator Willis in this regard, and they have not the right thing to do either, but he felt that a contact with Mr. Jordan would be an appropriate thing. When we called Mr. Jordan, frankly, I had assumed that his reaction would be swell, we think it's a great idea, and there's no problem. His reaction wasn't that. I really believe that if we have a chance to talk to him, and I agree with you, it shouldn't be a private meeting, it should be an open meeting. But if we have a chance to talk to whoever at Eagle River wants to talk to us, including his assembly, it may be that we can do this in a non-threatening way, and or in a better way. And there's no good answer to this. I don't know if you're suggesting that we call him back and say, we don't want to meet with you, we're going to have to go ahead and have a hearing, we can do that. But I suspect we'll come to that point if we first find out what's troubling him or his.
I'm not suggesting whether or not the lawyer get open or private. If you do have a private, I would like to see people from the other offices faction be represented, because I think you'll get a different viewpoint on this. I can give you some background on the assembly, and what you get sorry, you know. It's really hard to say. I would say right now there are two divided. You have the people for the borough against the borough. You have people who previously voted for the borough who particularly don't want to see the borough have a right to get out there, or the borough have a right to get out there. If we could just have, if we could have maybe Mr. Briggs, and who used to be a leader out in that community, could have a tremendous input. And other people.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Druin, I don't think that we have ever had, and I don't think we ever intend to have a private session of the commission. Our sessions are open, and in this context, it seems to me that if we scheduled a public meeting, we'd be better off. What I'm afraid of happening, Joe, is that we schedule a meeting just with the idea that Mr. Jordan and the Assembly would be the major people there speaking to us, and we schedule it in a small hall, and the word gets out, and people come in droves to the meeting. We will find
Resentment if it's a small question.
a difficult situation and maybe some resentment that we were trying to do something behind closed doors.
Mr. Sheffield?
Well, Mr. Drew, you say there are two factions. There are people that want to have a borough, and there's people that don't want to have a borough. And then I guess the third faction, I read the press, everybody out there hates unification, doesn't want to be a part of it. Is that true? I would say no. Now, I haven't taken a full of the community, but there's other people I have talked to, which has been few. People who I know who voted down or voted against unification before, and going back to them, and even myself included, have changed our opinion. And the thing is, now we want to get as much input as we can have, so we can have, because we gripe before because the state did not give us time to have a full impact of what a borough will do and the good points and the bad points. And this is, I think if people got this now, that a lot of them would vote with their conscience. As far as how many would vote for unification, I have no idea. But I'd like to say, may I say one more thing, please? I'm sorry. Let me give you the political climate out there. In my position, I was fortunate enough that I could speak up and say what I want. And I'll tell you what the truth is. There are a lot of people, because of the jobs, positions out there, who worked in the community, teachers, who could not say one thing against their borough without being threatened. And I was probably one of the few that could. And this is what has occurred out there. It was fine to say anything you wanted against GAC. And it was fine to say...
Chairman, it's possible that we could just join the meeting in the Assembly from 6:30 to 8, and then have the rest of the folks starting at 8 o'clock.
I asked our attorney a question.
Mr. Josephson?
Then legally now, as I understand it, that the Eagle River Borough is no longer exists, and you're part of the Great Rapids area.
That's right.
And so whatever happens in the Great Rapids area affects them. Right. For sure. And yeah. So whatever they were talking about doing out there, about trying to get back to being a borough or all this, now that's null and void. It is, they are part of us now again. So they're part of the borough. Now, is there legal steps that, Rick, that they will take or that we need to take to get us ourselves in tune? Do we have to get in tune? Have we done our job? Can the Eagle River stop us from continuing on with our job? Bill, it's not our fault that the Supreme Court ruled, and, well, what the ruling was, we've tried to do our job.
Well, there are a lot of questions wrapped up in what you're saying. As I understand it, the commission is taking the position with my advice and concurrence that it's perfectly legal as of now. That is to say, it would not be proper for the commission at this point to assume that it's illegal and to fold up its tent and go home. The only proper course for the commission, in my mind, is to go ahead with its job until a court of competent jurisdiction says that it's invalid. And I believe that's the attitude that the commission has taken. Now, as far as doing what we can to make it right with Eagle River, there are provisions, of course, in the statute that require hearings in each area of the borough represented on the borough assembly. Now, I don't know quite how you fit that into this situation, but that type of thing is the course the commission is on.
Mr. Josephson?
I think that what was in the minds of the subcommittee when we agreed that I would call Mr. Jordan was that the unification action, at least as a legal proposition, has absolutely nothing to do with the formation of second-class borough anywhere in Virginia. That is, if the area, including Eagle River and Chugiak, unifies, the same opportunity exists to go to the local boundary commission as existed before. Therefore, if this point can be appreciated at least among the leadership, and maybe the assembly isn't that leadership, but we would lay a foundation to have a hearing that would really be meaningful, because people would be testifying, and you testified tonight about the single member district thing and that sort of thing. And we would minimize just a great deal of rhetorical statements about issues that we have no control over and aren't attempting to influence. And that was really the reason why we thought that we didn't really think that we would have a private meeting or a closed meeting or a meeting other than a hearing first. That was Mr. Jordan's idea. Now, I can suggest to him that we would like to have other elements that were there, and it will be our meeting. We will invite the assembly there, rather than the assembly's meeting that we're invited to attend.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, I understand.
I would like to make a motion. I would move that we, through Mr. Josephson, in talking to Mr. Jordan, request to meet with the assembly at 6:30 next Wednesday, and that at 8 o'clock we declare a public hearing open to whomever would wish to speak to us.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, we've had a lot of debate. It's a difficult thing. But I personally feel we have a responsibility to the whole community, that if we can sit down in a more or less of informal situation, but people can be there to hear what we have to say, that we can have a good exchange, but that if we really wait until next week with or the week after that with a very heavy schedule, we may not get back to them and they'll say, well, it was written without an opportunity to be heard at all. So I think we could be criticized in a number of different ways. And
We've got to go.
I think we need to move ahead. So I would hope that we would consider that way.
Motion is second. Is there further discussion on the motion?
The message that you need to say.
Well, I will move the motion. I'll carry the message if that's of course I'll carry the message, but I think that I suppose I'm saying I would rather make 2 trips up there and do it in stages and lay the predicate more carefully than that. But that's just my opinion about it.
Rather than the same evening.
Rather than the same evening.
But, Joe, it seems to me that that if there are two factions or more, if the people who are feeling like they want to be part of the Greater Missouri Borough, they want to participate in the Charter Commission, here that we came and spoke to their former assembly who represents a different opinion than theirs. They need to get this up as I mean,
There's that word again, Jane.
part of my vocabulary, maybe irritated too.
Yes, I understand that, but that's why I mentioned in my memo that I thought we shouldn't have a closed meeting. I think it would be one thing to say to Mr. Jordan, others in the Eagle River expressed their being there and we can't, for that matter, maybe people from the non-Eagle River Chugiak area who want to be there, we can't exclude them. But to say to him, we want to have you have advised us, Mr. Ex-Mayor, not to have public hearing, and we're going to come in at 6:30 and meet with you, and we're going to, we was actually reject your advice. I think it's just asking for
Mary?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to do a little explaining to Mr. Druin. Last Saturday, the assembly met with our assembly and indicated the feeling that if we went ahead with the charter and put it on the ballot, that took all of Eagle River's option away, and we have legally checked on it, and it does not take Eagle River's option away to go ahead with the boundary commission.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, are you
I wanted
speaking
you
to
to
the motion?
understand.
Can I make a suggestion?
No, I just wanted an explanation to Mr. Druin because
How about this?
Yes.
Suppose I go right now and call Mr. Jordan, and I could tell him to come down here. That's one possibility. Or I could tell him that we're weighing all these things and that we would like now to report to you what he says, and then we'll act. I mean, he may say, well, I see your problem, and that's fine. Or he may give, some new reason. You want to do that?
Mr. Sheffield had a question. Well, I don't think it's germane to the motion, but some other comments have been. What I'd like to know is, to our attorney, if I could, and I think before I vote on this motion, can someone force us, do we have to have a member on the Charter Commission from the river area? Do we have to go back to that?
No.
no.
No,
Well, I'd like to
not
go
until
until
we're told that we do it.
Okay, well, what's the possibilities of that?
Bill, the possibility is that someone will bring a lawsuit arguing that the commission is improperly set up as of now and asking the court for some sort of relief, either an injunction against acting further or putting a member on from that area or something of that sort. We have no way of really predicting the form that action will take or the outcome. So meanwhile, we're assuming that everything is full speed ahead.
Lisa?
Can I ask Mr. Druin a question? In the election in Eagle River, about how many people voted for the mayor and the borough assembly and stuff?
Over 50%, about 65%.
Approximately 4,000 people. 1,900 against and 2,200 for.
No, I'm talking about the local election. Their election.
Oh, for yours, yeah.
I think there were more people that voted during that election than there was for the election of the borough.
Mr. Parsons?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to the motion. I too have some hesitancy of both of those meetings the same evening. I feel that although there is the 6 months allowed for reapportionment for the Greater Akron area borough, that whether we have taken that into consideration in our constitution or not. that it is a significant enough area of the Greater Anchorage Area Borough as now constituted that we should have a public hearing, that whether we are legally required to, or I think we are morally, we have to. And that as such, we would be derelict if we did not schedule one. The meetings with other individuals other than that public hearing, I think, are perhaps protocol, but they are not of the same legal or moral responsibility as the public hearing is. And I think the public hearing is first, and when we have other meetings along with that, that's fine. I hesitate to mix the apples and beans in the same evening.
There's another possibility that I might throw out. When Mr. Jordan and I talked, I mentioned that it might not be a session involving a full charter commission. It may not be necessary to have 11 people go up there and encounter the assembly on that basis. So let me just try this on the side, which might be that the volunteers, or the subcommittee plus volunteers, could go up to Eagle River at 6 o'clock Wednesday evening and come back and do our regular business here Wednesday night and tell the group what happened, make a decision in the public meeting
And then we're too late to advertise a public hearing next week.
next week.
And we need to do it next week if we're going to be timely.
Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to postpone action until Mr. Josephson talks with Mr. Jordan about all these different possibilities that come up.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Lisa.
Move to postpone our action right now until Mr. Josephson talks with Mr. Jordan.
Motion to postpone, is there a second?
I'll second.
Been a motion to postpone and a second, is there? Now, do we have discussion on a motion to postpone?
Mr. Chairman,
Sherry?
something has just occurred to me. When we met with the Borough Assembly, when we met with the City Council, when we met with the School Board, we met in work session, we met here on our territory. I see this as a similar thing to the meeting with the former Eagle River Assembly, and different from a public hearing. What would be the reaction to having a work session, a new work session here, and invite them to come?
Well,
Friday or...
the noon work session thing, he specifically said that that's difficult. And I imagine in shooting at Eagle River that people scatter pretty much through the day. Is that right? I mean, they wouldn't all... He indicated there was a problem about day meeting. I'll be glad to ask him that, and I think your suggestion, I don't know what symbolic weight they would give to it in a negative fashion, but I think it makes maybe sense that we would want to meet with them at our...
Mr. Chairman, how about, and I'll support the postponing motion, how about pursuing a possible Friday or Saturday meeting this week, and then, although it be short notice...
Here on our territory.
On our territory, or, that's, I don't mean it for that sense, but I think that might not be a bad thing too. Then, to realize that we would, move ahead for a public hearing, say on Wednesday, spend some advertising dollars if we have to get the word out.
Does anybody want to come with me?
Protection on the other.
Motion to postpone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Joe?
Mr. Chairman, could we pursue something a little bit further on this our legal status? Is that kind of the end of the report? Are we going to encourage someone to bring a suit, or what's going to happen?
I recall our Sunday meeting, the expectation was that following the mass meeting in Eagle River, we would have encouraged all that we were going to encourage. Right, I mean, the idea was that suit would appear then.
If they're peeved enough about our going ahead, well, then somebody is apt to sue us. And if they aren't peeved enough about our going ahead, nobody's apt to sue us. So what?
The problem, Dick, is that in a way, I can see the counter difficulties on the commission's part, because you want to know your status soon, I assume. On the other hand, the longer we go on without a suit, the better off we are in a suit. That is to say, the weaker position a challenger would have.
Well, that wasn't truly the case in the Eagle River Borough.
Might have been, it just wasn't weak enough.
Well, I don't know, it troubles me, you know, I'd like to be more comfortable with our status, frankly. I mean, you know, the possibility I see is we go through the process and hold the election. Unification passes and a suit is brought, and the unification election is thrown out. That would be very disturbing to me.
Yeah, it could happen in that sequence.
Yeah, that's fine.
Subsequent to the election, but the discussion on subcommittee discussion indicated that, I think it was Rick that indicated that the court was unlikely, subsequent to an election duly held, in which people suing had an opportunity to participate. The court was very unlikely to throw out that election. That's an opinion again, and that's all. And, we're
Okay, I still do that.
that's substantially what he said.
The wisdom of the subcommittee at this point is that we not do anything overtly ourselves.
Right.
And we'll go ahead and proceed.
Okay. Well, while Joe's phoning, maybe we could get started on Sherry's next.
It's not Sherry's. I don't know why, Mr. Chairman, Eddie put down my name because it's a full commission action and the Charter Production Committee has nothing to bring to the commission.
Okay, and that is, this is basically then on what information we've been able to gather from the polls and from previous charter and from our beliefs, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, we seem to have lost several people. Can I go get a cup of coffee too?
Let's hold it in the day and I'll take a short recess.
We'll have a call of the house.
Let's spend
This meeting back to order. We ask Mr. Joseph to give us another report.
This was the conversation.
Hi, Lee, I said.
Hi there, fella.
I told him about the various options we were considering here, and then we finally decided that I should call him first and then report back. He said that subsequent to his conversation with me, the group that wants a separate borough had decided to have an open meeting in Eagle River next Wednesday night to consider their strategy. And therefore, the Wednesday night session he had discussed with me was no longer possible because all of those people were going to be tied up in that. And he said he didn't think it was appropriate to bring up in that public group that he and I had had this conversation. He did, I asked him, at first he said he didn't think it would be appropriate either to have any earlier meeting than that because he wanted to hear what the group thought about strategy. But he reconsidered and said that yes, he thought that maybe a meeting at which his attorney and ours and the subcommittee of the Charter Commission and his friends could talk might be useful so that when he has this Wednesday meeting, he can tell them some facts. And I think it would be useful from our point of view
session. It'll reduce the alarm and it'll make that meeting more productive and less horror story, you know.
So, I didn't understand which group was meeting.
Okay, this is the people who want to go ahead with the petition, Mary, and go through the
All right.
local boundary commission. He asked me whether we had given any more thought to just holding up until they had gone through the local boundary commission, and I said that was the very first thing we thought about, but it was not realistic to wait until March or April 1976, and that the commission, as I understood, wouldn't consider doing that. That if it were a matter of waiting until August to September, that would be a different story, but that wasn't the situation we had under the law. The way we left it then, I explained that I wouldn't be available this weekend, and some of us wouldn't be available, but a crew could be assembled for such a meeting. So the way we left it was that I would report this back, and then we would get back to him maybe tonight or in the morning to set up a meeting Friday or Saturday, a subcommittee of the Charter Commission and whoever he wants to bring, to just help them prepare, if you want to put it that way, for his public session on Wednesday night, and we don't should yet. Then I said, you know, we still have not resolved the matter of a public hearing. And I said, I have related to the commission your feelings about it, but you understand that we have many more issues to consider. There are a lot of other aspects to it. We cannot be criticized. We're not having a hearing, nor can we have a hearing after we've completed a draft of the charter. And that, I said, there's very similar sentiment in the commission to that effect. And so that notwithstanding your concern, the commission may vote tonight to have a hearing, and I want you to know that. And he said yes, he understood that, and he didn't seem to be personally offended by that. So I think you're in a position where the public hearing scheduled by this commission should not be on Wednesdays, since so many people out there will be otherwise engaged, but could be scheduled tonight and advertised. But two, Mr. Jordan and whoever else he wants to bring would be available to talk to us earlier, and I think it should be a time when Mr. Jordan is there.
Yeah, I was going to say I can go ahead and do it sometime.
So I feel much better that phone call helped clear the air.
What time? Did he indicate any time that would be more convenient during the day or evening on Saturday?
No, he didn't. He seemed, as far as I know, flexible.
What is the central? First, Rick, what would be most convenient for you?
You're thinking of a Saturday meeting?
Saturday.
Anytime, well, preferably Saturday afternoon.
Well, the rest of the
Here or
commission,
there?
Saturday afternoon, all right?
Here or there?
Here,
Saturday afternoon?
yes.
I can't, so I've got a commissioner.
Would it be better to
Friday noon?
Yes.
Is Friday noon a possibility, Mr. Chairman? Did you
Well,
discuss?
the noon, as I understood it from earlier conversation, the noon
My
meeting.
earlier conversation was that noon during working days was a tough thing for them to make.
Because they've got travel time that they're coming in here.
But
About 2 o'clock Saturday.
I can't.
How many can make it 2 o'clock Saturday?
Yeah, no, I'm not even sure I can, but it's
I've already met with them. They don't want to talk to me.
Oh, good.
if it's better for anybody Saturday morning, I can do that too.
Anybody else?
How about Saturday morning?
Saturday morning?
1, 2, 3. Only 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to be on time.
Yeah, that's my problem. I gotta go to, I'll be getting back to Valley East on Saturday, probably till about noon.
I'll be at Candlestick Park, so
Let's set it for Saturday afternoon.
In the rain.
And,
What's, Mr.
heard
Chairman, what's
me.
the advantage of having it Saturday afternoon as opposed to Monday or Tuesday evening?
Monday evening's great with me.
if it's better Monday evening, it's fine with me.
Yeah, what,
That's a good day. I have to be the same way. I've already talked with them. They told me what they want to tell me.
Joe?
The same thing.
That's immaterial from my point of view. Personally, I just want to know what you want me to tell them on the next call.
Is it essentially the mission you'd rather have it Monday evening?
How many can do it Monday night?
How many Monday night?
I'll be late. I'll be late, Grant, but I'll be back.
Monday night looks like you're more to be there Monday night than on Saturday.
Monday night.
Here or there?
Here.
Well, then I can do part of it here, I think.
Part of your,
All right,
part of your
the one thing then that we don't,
28th. Monday the 28th is, here, should we make it at 8 rather than 7:30? See, they have, well, we don't have much further to drive than the rest of us.
7:30.
7:30. Does that sound all right to you, Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Can you convey that message?
8 o'clock Monday night.
7:30 Monday.
7:30.
Mr. Chairman,
Mary?
can we shift our Thursday meeting to Wednesday and have a Thursday hearing in Eagle River?
Let's get this meeting set first. Is this all right with everybody? All right, then it'll be set for Monday night, 7:30.
Where? Here?
Here.
Okay, how long does it take to advertise?
Now, for our public hearing, it takes you 4 days to get something in the paper. You've got to give them 4 days notice. So tomorrow morning, you'd have to give them notice in order to have any time ahead for next week.
Well, if you had a public hearing on Thursday, would that be in time enough for the paper and everything?
You'd have you'd have 2 days of advertising.
Is that enough?
Plus, we could do a radio spot
We get a radio spot or two.
earlier. Maybe a news release earlier.
yeah, can't set it out.
I think that would be enough.
Okay, I'll time for the guns.
Mr. Chairman, to keep this in order, I'll move a substitute motion that we have the Monday night meeting here with the Assembly at 7:30. It would be an open work session, and that we set a public hearing, place yet undetermined, in Eagle River on Thursday, May 1st at 7:30.
Second.
You won't be advising of this Thursday thing of this motion you got to.
tell them to put it in this paper.
Yes, get him to get it in his paper.
Yeah.
Question on the substitute motion.
The substitute motion.
I seconded it.
It's been moved and seconded. Substitute for the motion. Voting work session Monday, 7:30 here in the AMU boardroom, and 7:30 in Eagle River, and probably, I was only suggesting at this moment, the cafeteria of the school.
Eagle River.
At Eagle River School. At the
Homestead,
public hearing.
downtown, or Chilean, or the high school? Which school are we gonna try for?
I would think that the
High school.
high school. I don't know what.
Homestead has a fine, multi-purpose room purpose as far as they're concerned.
Is there,
Chairman Mary, it's kind of out of the line, though.
is there any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed? So ordered. Joe's going on after.
Place to be determined, Mr. Chairman?
Place to be determined, but I have to find the location.
Mr. Chairman, Chairman, is it then assumed that on Wednesday night we will have the regular commission meeting
Have a
here?
regular commission meeting
And
here.
still Tuesday noon is planned?
Right.
All right.
Tuesday noon at the restaurant, 11:30 to 1:30, and a regular meeting here Wednesday evening, 7:30.
Hope my airplane keeps traveling fast. Galloping around. I'm going to see Lisa in Canada.
I've had a public hearing in Eagle River before. First verified, probably all. Now, we have the question of the form of government. And we knew it was going to get there sooner or later. Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the legislative body be apportioned in the manner of single-member districts.
The what?
Apportioned in the manner of single-member districts.
Moved by Lisa. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the legislative body be apportioned in single-member districts. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Murray?
I believe that the vote on the election that said that 66 out of 75 precincts did favor single-man districts. Was questioned, we put it out in the questionnaire. The results on the Rowan questionnaire also said the majority favored single-man districts. I feel that it's essential if we are going to be credible in that we won't make a charter that is acceptable to the most people, that we do put a single-man district.
Rowan Group, they did a correlation, a relationship and correlation between citizens' choices on the executive and legislative systems. And in that, it states that the people want a responsive and a close government, and that they are very favorable towards any systems or feedback or citizen control. And in the questionnaire, or in the survey that they did, it was something like over 60% favored some form of single-member districts. And when they say that they want responsible and close government, this is why they say that they want, why they feel they like single-member districts. And I would think from all the input that we've had from our public hearings and the public opinion poll on the ballot and the public opinion poll that Rowan Group did, that pretty much shows that people want a responsive and close government.
Lisa, did you say it, did a paper out?
Yeah.
That has not been distributed as far as I know.
No, I don't have, did you get them from Irene?
Bill, you had some question? Yes, Jane.
I'm sorry, I picked this up from Irene, Stephanie, she asked me to bring, which is what this is talking about.
Joe, bring you up to date. Lisa made a motion that the assembly be apportioned in a single-member district. That was seconded by Mary, and they've each spoken I think, to adequately cover the ground, I think we should take the time to read the report.
Well, what do we have here?
It's a report on taxation and discussion by Mike, also discussing the kinds of legislative bodies. It's just a narrative of the findings related to the questionnaire. Also, you've got a page that starts with question number 64, and question number 67 was erroneously marked, erroneous, and the wrong numbers on the report that we received last week. That's just incorrect, because 65% were no comment, as opposed to 65% that they were uninformed. That's just a correction.
On what number again, please?
There's a page that, in their report, that I gave.
Oh, all right.
Question number 67. The numbers, the percentages were incorrect in the report that we received last week. That's why you've got that case in there.
Okay.
In table number 7, which is the last page of the report, the distribution of advantages that the implementation took place for the city borough of both. The number on the top, does everybody know what I'm talking?
No.
No?
Okay, I handed you,
Are you still in what you just handed me?
I handed you
All right.
a series of pages. The last page that you have in there is table number 7.
Okay. Now I'm there.
Distribution of the event, of whoever the advantage implication took place. The number on the top of the line is their first response. The number under the line is their second response. Okay?
And which one, Jane, again, was incorrect in our first report?
Question number 67. Was incorrect in the original report.
Oh, I see. Was
This is submitted as a correction.
It said specific comments.
Okay.
No, it said
All right, fine.
specific comments. Says,
The 65% should say no comment,
Correct.
and then the 8.1% is specific comment. Okay.
I got this at 7 o'clock, so I didn't.
You said that on table 7, that the top was the first answer and the bottom was the second answer
That's true.
of what?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Why, if you say, the question is, which resolution would happen if that unification took place, and why? Okay, in the first column, we've got 10.5% said the city would have the advantage because of lower taxes. 0.0, nobody used that as an second choice.
Oh, it was the first choice and their second choice.
Yeah.
Choices. Okay.
Of the reasons why.
All right. Thank you.
Fisher.
I'd like to kind of delineate the issue if I can. Unless I misunderstand it, I'd like to use the board. I'm really torn because in the survey, between single-member districts and multi-member districts. Just seems simple to me that if you have 11, this area is split into 11 pieces, that there's going to be one person from each of those 11 districts elected, and it breaks down the area into 11 parts. It eliminates the possibility of two people living next to one another and they're elected. There may be two very good people down here. Whereas if you divide it into 4 parts, you elect 3, 3, and 2, such as the present system, I think the quality of representation would be better, and that really bothers me. It's the same argument as at large. I just don't think at large is politically acceptable, nor I think it's desirable for that matter. I don't think it breaks it down enough. But I do like the present system that the Assembly's being elected under, right? I think that's kind of the issue. It's a real battle with what we've got to face here in the polls. But I do really believe that we'll get better representation for districts.
Would you let it include people living in
Well, that will happen in any event.
No.
Well,
Yeah, because there aren't enough people in the Eagle River Birchwood area.
yeah, well,
Mr. Chairman,
A district, unless you have more than 11 districts.
Mr. Chairman, I would move a substitute motion if there's a second to speak to it. I move that we include in the first draft of the charter a voter option possibility as to the composition of the new government. A single-member district. B, a multi-member district composed of 4 districts. There's a second, I'll speak to that. Mr. Chairman, I make no bones about the fact that I am philosophically strongly in favor of the multi-member districts. There are certainly pros and cons on both plans, and it really gets down to in every case, to the quality of people that we elect. I fear single-member districts in that I think that it can be too parochial in some cases, that it can, as Dick has said, prevent 2 good women or 2 good men from an area having an opportunity to sell. There's an advantage that people have someone that they feel is more accessible, but perhaps the cost is not quite as great as it would be under the multi-member district. There's some disadvantages, I feel, in that you are not able to vote as frequently and to really have an impact on as many of your legislative members. And I think it's a collective body, and so there's an advantage there. At the time that the Assembly went through the very difficult time of getting away from the, quote, institutional representation of the city, talking in terms of multi-member districts, there was a great deal of debate, and although it was called a political compromise to go to the multi-member district, it seemed to be one that there was a great deal of public support for and testimony for it, and the Assembly accepted it. I had hoped that we might be able not to get into this reapportionment question with the new charter, and that we would be able to maintain the other map. Obviously, we are now faced with a situation that the Assembly is malapportioned. We're going to have a new map one way or another. it would seem to me that we've said all along, we want a charter that we can really sell to the people, that this is the time we've got to go ahead. I think this is one area of the charter that we can really present two plans, two maps, and let the public have a real choice in the matter. It is possible if we, on the assembly or the council, whatever it turns out, to make rather a clean-cut thing as to the difference between the single member and the multi-member. We could handle it, I think, well and give the voters that opportunity. I think, however, we would have very great difficulty if we attempted to do that with the form of executive public input. I would like to see it go on to the actual charter election and at that time have a decision made to prepare two maps. It has been talked of in the past, and perhaps some of you can make comment on that, where people have said, why don't you bring us the matter of the executive, the matter of the ombudsman, and so on, ad infinitum, allow the public to make that at the time they vote on the charter. I think that could get to be a very awkward thing, particularly when you talk in terms of the executive. On matters, if you feel it's controversial enough, such as ombudsman, you could do that, and we could do it here.
So you're saying that the charter would be presented to vote, people would have a choice about method of representation?
That is correct. Right, not the executive, only that there would be two maps, and so on. And just a further point on that, there was a great deal of, I have heard comment and some criticism, for instance, on the map that was presented, when was it, in October. It was just one map, and people said, why did you support that if you feel so strongly the other way? And they said, well, we supported it because we only had one map. This way, there would be two maps.
So,
Bill Sheffield.
I think that, I think artists might very well have a good idea. I'm considering, I'm wondering though, if you, or in addition to that, I guess I should say that if you went on the first draft of with the idea of leaving it up to the voter, then when you come around to the second draft, and do the public hearings the second time around, put that in line with the first draft. Everybody has it, the press has it. Everybody looks at it. Then you maybe have the option at that time in the second draft to change our mind and to go one way or the other, or stay with the concept of letting the voters have a choice. Otherwise, we'd have a chance to change our mind at that point.
Mr. Chairman?
Jane had, so, at least.
well, I'd like to discuss, Rick, if we are bound by state constitution, Title 29, on the term of office. Is it possible to change the term of office from 3 years to 2 years?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, it is possible to change the term of office from 3 years to 2 years.
Lisa?
So if we left it up to the voters when we put the final charter up on what type of representation they had, then we would be saying, whatever you decide that will have a lot of implementation on how the charter will be implemented, since the assembly will be taking most of this and deciding what happens to it. So if they decide to go with multi-member district, then it will be these large districts and people that are elected from large districts that implement them.
No, wait a minute, you misunderstood, please. She's proposing to have a single member district map on and a multiple member district on.
Mr. Chairman.
on the final election.
Joe?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have some comments, and some of them are declarative, and some are in the form of questions. Some testimony, and I agree it hasn't been much in quantity, but some good testimony has been received that says, we elected you people to draw a charter and not to advocate responsibility by sending us options. And I know that this motion only goes to one option. But the second problem is, that's declarative. But the second problem is that, in a way, it is unfair to the electorate. The guise is that you're giving a choice, but it takes away from them a really meaningful choice on unification itself, because, at least hypothetically, a voter might vote for unification if he knows there will be some member districting, and against it if the multi-member carries. How do you treat that individual who says, gee, if I'd known the outcome, I would have voted yes, and I would have no, or I would have voted no, and I voted yes. Then, these are the problems. I think that the objection to the single member can be cured in part by the 2-year term instead of the 3-year term, so that voters are not absent from all 3 years of running. That also increases the responsiveness of the elected official along the line Mr. Rowan indicates that the public is interested in. It has the advantage of simplicity. Now the question I have goes to maps. Maybe this is from Mr. Garnett. I had thought that we could, if we wanted to opt for single-member districts, say so. Perhaps reserving a transitional assembly that would be apportioned on some other method and avoid mapping. Does the Eagle River Chugiak situation compel us to map?
Well, not absolutely, Joe. In order for the commission to provide that the first election under the new government be held under an apportionment which is already established, the Assembly will have to complete its job of drawing a new map prior to the time of the charter election. If it does so, then the charter can provide as a transitional measure that the first election will be under that map with provision for another form later.
Well, before I yield the floor, I think it's very hard to demonstrate that multi-member districts give better quality representation than single-member districts. Dick is right. If you can come up with that consideration that two people are neighbors and they're great people and they would both be outstanding, and one of them cannot run for that job. So that one, I guess, has to serve the public in some other way. But I really don't know that. I don't know how you measure quality always. But I don't really know that you can do it. You can probably make a case that better known people are elected the larger the district you have. But I don't really know that you can demonstrate that quality increases when you move away from large districts. Besides which, people may, I don't think they should use these jobs as training situations, but people may have an aptitude and learn very quickly how to serve their neighborhood.
Marvelous.
No.
Dick? First, the argument that Joe made for people not voting for the charter because they would prefer one type of representation or the other is precisely the reason I go with Arliss and like to see both of them on the ballot. Because I want to vote for that charter if they're in favor of unification, not because of the kind of districts that are there, because that's changed a lot. So I think your argument would work kind of in reverse there, Joe. I think insofar as quality, representation, we each have to judge that compared to where we're coming from. And I know where I'm coming from, and I think it's been adequately demonstrated, it has to be, that this would result in better quality of tuition. In any event, it would seem to me that I think the sense, if I understand the sense of what Arlis is proposing, is that we get as much a reading of the people as to whether they like the idea of being given a choice in the election, as the fact that there is a choice between these two. And I think that's important, that we get a reading as to what people think of the commission giving them a choice on this, the most important issue in the charter. And I don't think, I don't think anyone would argue with me about that. And this is the crucial issue in the charter. Now, do people like the idea of being given a choice on this issue?
Bill?
Well, you see, and will be, if that motion passes, between the time the first draft and the second draft. You'll have a chance to find it out. But we need to give that choice.
Lisa?
If there was a choice on the ballot between single-member districts and multi-member districts, how would you explain the charter? How would you say what would happen? How would you say how the charter would be implemented? How do you explain that? You say if you decide to go with multi-member districts, implementation might come about this way and the assembly might do this. Or if you decide to go with single-member districts, this might happen.
Mr. Chairman,
So you just, I don't think...
You're speaking to Lisa. Then Arlis, you speak to Lisa's.
Yes, I wonder, Lisa, if you might comment on how you see a problem. In looking at the charter, the old one, and as far as we've gone now, I can see that there would be no changes between the two methods in the transitional section or really any other section except that one dealing with composition. We would still, irrespective of the method of electing it either by district, let's say we would end up with 11 members, each elected every 2 years, on staggered terms and so on. But I can see that if they're elected multi-district or single member, that we would still use the same type of transitional section. I can't see how that would impact any other area. In the form of executive, it most assuredly would. If there was a choice on the ballot for me to vote for single-member districts, for multi-member districts, and to vote on the charter, I'd probably vote for the single-member district, and I might just vote no on the charter.
fine, I would too,
Jane?
because I wouldn't have had the assurance that I had
I don't
local
know.
representation.
I guess for it seems to me that the major tenets, first of all, I disagree with you that the most important feature of the item, the most important feature of the charter is this question. I think that Mike's survey indicated that the biggest problems are fear of taxation increasing, fear of bigness in the government, evolving, and that this may be one element that would affect that in some people's mind, but I don't know if this particular section is the most important. What I would like to say is that it seems to me that the major discussion related to single-member districts is let people have more influence over their government through closeness. It seems to me that by giving people the choice, you are demonstrating the openness of the government for people to make decisions for themselves.
Joe and Mary.
I disagree with that because you're only doing it, Mr. Chairman, if you say to them, first you will go to the polls and you will have that option, and then you will come back and in the light of that option, make a decision about unification. I disagree that you give them a choice. You muddle the choice very considerably.
Taking my choice away as far as I'm
If it's 2 stages, yes. But if it's 1 stage, no. And I think that when you go to the polls, if you have an important proposition like this, you should know what the ground rules are. Now the question, Mr. Fisher raised the point that you can amend the charter. We all understand that, and you can make an estimate. There will be single-member districting, but at some future date, under these ground rules, that may change. And that's okay. I don't think anybody objects to that. But to say, I'm asked to vote, what does all this testimony mean? People really care about this issue. And I think there are going to be a heck of a lot of people who will not think it's a favor to them to give them that kind of choice when you ask them on the same day to vote yes or no.
Mary?
Mr. Chairman, I sincerely believe the people have already been given this choice. And if you put the choice on again, you're telling them you didn't believe them the first and the second time they told you. And you hope to God that they don't tell you the same thing the third time.
Jim?
That's the way I feel about it.
Jim?
Chairman, I'm not sure that we've got any of these things that people say we've gotten at previous votes. You can run up any flag you want to and beat the table any way you want to. And we are still, as Joe says, the creative body that is creating the government. And we are supposed to fish or cut bait and not put another choice on the ballot. I really do think that the substitute motion muddles it. It doesn't accomplish what I would like to see accomplished. I'm not sure the single-member districts is it either. Frankly, I still hold that there should be about 3 of the legislative body elected at large. And what the rest of the composition of that group is, whether it's multi-member district or single-member district, the at-large aspect allows for some people to be elected to represent what is called community. But I would have to vote against the substitute motion on the basis that the choices are ours and not to present the voters with a muddled situation.
Carlos?
Mr. Chairman, I was very careful in the way that I worded my motion that this would be for the first draft. And I don't know, it's kind of odd to me that there seems to be really a fear for letting it go this way to say that a round of public hearings. Now, there happens to be, if we want to be real honest, one quite influential newspaper here who has always equated single-member districts with wards. We want a charter that's going to go, and I'm not so terribly sure that this might not be an opportunity to let those that wish to speak and very strongly, one side or the other, take this as something that's going to be strongly debated and discussed in the community. And I'm not really afraid of what the people say. And I have to say I have a bias toward multi-member. I feel strongly about that. But I'm not, on the other hand, attempting to rationalize my way through this because it's been pretty clearly demonstrated in some things we've had. There's a very strong interest in the single member. So I'm not going to knock down and drag out fight just for my way. I'd like to hear the public input.
Mary?
I would like to say that I could accept 10 single-member districts and the mayor and one person being elected at large on alternate years, and that would allow everybody to vote for somebody every year. but I don't think I could go to the 3 because that makes the districts too large. And that would be a 2-year term instead of a 3-year term for that to work.
Lisa?
Can I ask Carlos what she means by a ward? No, that's not my word, although the League of Women Voters used that in some material here about 3 or 4 years ago. That's Mr. Atwood's word for single-member district.
Shane?
Not mine.
Dick?
At the very least, the motion would allow us to get in front of us a map prepared by the borough, 2 maps prepared by the borough that would show us exactly where these districts comprise at the moment. And I would very much like to have that first slide on fight day, and I think I have a reasonably good idea of what they represent, but I'm still vague enough that I'd like to see the maps.
Yeah,
Chair?
Lisa?
I guess the maps that Joe, the board did, when the assembly was talking about the reapportionment last year, that he drew up, there's the multi-member, and then there's single member, and then there's 4 members. Does not include that. There's 3 members. You do include people. It includes people remaining.
We've had considerable discussion on the motion. Motion was the substitute motion to, can you read it back?
That we include in the first draft of the charter of local option A, single-member district,
As to the composition
as to the composition
of the new government.
A single-member district, B, multi-member district, comprising the present 4.
No, composed of 4 districts.
This is a parliamentary inquiry. If the substitute motion is defeated, Mr. Parker's motion for single member districts is before the body and is then open to amendment. Is that correct?
Would be, I believe, correct. Is there a call for the question?
Question.
Question's been called. I think this is one of those motions that's going to have to call for roll.
What made you say
Yeah.
that, sir?
Bill? Mary?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Dick?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Jane?
Turn back. No.
Joe?
No?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
And yes, that's 5 to 5. Lost. The original motion, Lisa's original motion is on the floor. The motion was for a single member district. Could you read it back, Vicki?
Legislate laws. Legislate in single-member districts.
Be a portion here for single member. Just be a portion of single member.
Portion of single member district basis. Is there a discussion on that motion?
Ms. Parker's motion?
Parker's motion.
Yes, I would move to amend by, should I take one at a time or give you the whole business and divide it?
Give it slowly enough so that we can
All right, I would move to provide for 10 single-member districts with 2-year terms and 3 at-large districts.
Second.
What year term, second year term?
10 single and 3 at large.
For purposes of discussion, I would second it, but I'd like to know what the object in 3 at large. That would make 13 representatives. What is the object of 3 at large? The mayor's going to be at large, that gives 4 at large.
Well, I may be I may be getting ahead of myself because I don't know whether the mayor is part of this group or not. We haven't reached that point, but I think that what I'm trying to reflect here is that we overcome Mr. Fisher's neighborhood problem because the two neighbors, one can run locally and one at large, or they're both can run at large. It does provide some mix that Mr. Dr. Parsons spoke about, the larger community interest. And the two-year term avoids the greatest objection to the single-member district that came up in hearings, which was that some people would only vote once every 3 years. I think the at-large helps in that respect too.
I believe that to have one at-large seat means you're electing someone who is then running the next time for mayor or kind of thing, and that it does not allow for a broad enough spectrum of at-large. He becomes kind of a second power figure in addition to the mayor, if we go one direction in terms of the type of mayor. I think 3 allows enough of a mix, as the Charter Commission has done, that provides the kind of cross-fertilization process. One does not. One does not. It makes him, in aspects, much like the mayor, that people listen to this guy as they listen to the mayor, and I think sets up a dichotomy and a competitiveness that would be actually to the disadvantage of the government system.
Sherry?
Mr. Chairman, Joe, just for purposes of discussion, I wonder how you would feel about having 9 single-member districts and 2 at-large. The 9 to run on 2-year terms, or everyone on a 2-year term. That would give you 1 at-large every year, and it would give you a body of 11, which I somehow think is more manageable than 13.
I'm not doctrinaire, so this interests me. I'm not doctrinaire in these matters. But I just thought that the 13 would mean that there would be that closeness, that we could a little more of that closeness, but it's not a big issue. Body felt 11 is more suitable.
Yeah, the 2-year term really bothers me. I think it's difficult to run these offices, and I think that we tend again to get good people discouraged from running. I realize it was in the last charter, but I was very fond of it there either. And for that reason, I couldn't support it.
Mr. Chairman, could we divide these questions then so that we don't that Bill had a question.
Well, just going to mention, I think probably 11 is better than 13. So less really. And of course, government is expensive and it's dangerous. And that we have it anyway. And so the less people we have, probably better off.
It's not bad. Less unlucky.
Good enough.
Sherry?
I would move to amend Joe's motion to read 9 single-member districts, to delete the 2-year term reference at this juncture, and to say 2 at-large.
Second.
Moved and seconded to amend the motion to read 9 single member and 2 at large. Is there discussion?
Can we have a divisional question, Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
So that when we vote on Sherry's, that we vote whether we want 9 or 10, 2 or 3, or 2-year terms or not 2-year terms?
She has provided a question about leaving the number of years of the term out of it. Hasn't she?
If this motion is adopted, then we can be in order to grade the 2-year versus 2-year issue and the other.
That was my opinion.
Question.
Okay.
I think that 9 single-member districts. It'd be pretty large. I don't, just trying to figure out how many people that one district represented would be pretty difficult. And again, I'm speaking against the motion, and I think that if we raise the number of people sitting in the legislative body to 13, it doesn't create an unwieldy situation as far as decision-making is concerned, and would provide for greater representation.
Further discussion?
Question.
Question has been called for. Jim?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, could you repeat the amendment?
Your amendment?
What was our,
That we amend to 9 single-member districts to delete the 2-year term and for 2 at large.
Aye.
Aye. Jim? Mary?
No.
Lisa?
No. She said no.
Did you say yes?
I said no.
Dick?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Jane?
No.
Joe?
No.
Alice?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Yes.
Fine.
here's where I'm getting
Now we're back to the original motion, which was
10 or 13, wasn't it?
10
10 2-year terms and 3 at large.
3 at large.
And 2-year terms.
And a 2-year term, wasn't it?
2-year terms.
I asked the question on a 2-year term, voted on separately.
Moved and seconded that the 2-year term be voted on second.
That's at the discretion of the chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Is it?
I don't care.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a substitute motion.
I don't know where I am, parliamentary
You're doing fine.
wise.
I think it's now in order to make another substitute motion since we've disposed of that. I think it is necessary to talk about the number of years term in relation to the proposed division because it has some relationship as to the number of at large. I do believe if you're going to feel that the representation has a small enough district to feel the closeness of the district, you're going to have at least 11 single-member districts. I do understand Dick's concern. I'm wanting to make a motion about the 3-year term versus 2 years. I would like to try a motion that would say 11 single-member districts and 2 at-large representatives with a 3-year term. That would leave the mayor on the off year, but there was not an at-large to be elected.
Your motion is to have 11 single-member districts and 2 members at large.
That's right.
Is there further discussion? Is there a second?
Haven't got a second.
I'll second.
And seconded by Lisa Parker. Is there discussion?
That was 11 and 2.
11
Yes.
to
For a 3-year, well, and a 3-year term, and I would speak to it again just to get it plain. Both of the proposed mayors are full-time mayors,
and there's no doubt if they're going to be full-time mayors or any mayor, they're going to be elected at large. They're not going to be elected by district. That means there are 3 people that you can have elected. One would be elected at large every year. It'd be the mayor or an at-large assembly. Each year would be elected. All right? Now, if you have 11 districts, then the size of the district is small enough so that you can feel that it is a manageable size.
Jane?
Mary White, 3 years.
I think Dick is a little bit right that the assemblyman, the first year that he's on, has a heck of a lot to learn about local government and how the particular body operates if he's going to be a good legislator. And he's really a better legislator the second and the third year than he is the first.
Joe? I have this problem, brother. First of all, I really don't think people refrain from running for local office because of a 2-year term versus 4-year term. When you reach that point, your ego is usually strong. This is all hearsay. But I think when you reach that point, your ego is usually strong enough that you think you're going to get reelected anyway, and I don't think you want to run. But if you go this route, have 3-year terms, 11 single-member districts, only 2 running at large, you're going to get some peculiar results. I think in some districts where there happens to be a race that year, you'll get a big turnout, and the at-large people will have to cope with that because in other places there won't be much incentive to go out and vote. Will there really be a turnout for, I understand there could be a situation where you would have 1 at-large assemblyman to vote for in your district in that given year. To some extent,
Everybody would be voting on an at-large.
I know that, and that would be in some, but in some districts, that would be the only person on the ballot, and in others, you would have your local assemblyman, and it's going to lead to some distortion, which is incidentally an infirmity of basic Joseph's amendment too, but not to this degree, and I will have to vote no on this motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to amend the motion to delete the 2 at large.
Can you amend the substitute motion? Okay.
And if I have a second, I would speak to it.
What are you doing?
To deleting the 2 at large, to leave it just 11 single-member districts for 3 years.
That's where we began.
Thanks.
That's where we began.
Mr. Fisher?
I think it's going to be terribly complicated. Mr. Chairman,
I guess that's the motion.
Jerry, just hold down. Jerry?
could I suggest next time you take the roll, start with Mary or yourself? Jim doesn't always sit at the seat. Thank you. Keep rotating.
Well, may I suggest this? If the amendment I offered is defeated, then Mrs. Holmes' proposition is before us. But I think it's germane, without a second to her motion, that she speak to that and against my amendment, so that the group knows why my amendment should be defeated.
Mr. Chairman, we have Mrs. Frommy's amendment, do we not?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Tony's amendment for 2 at large and 11 single-member districts, 3-year terms. Jerry?
Mr. Chairman, I'll confess to having lost sight of the original motion, which was made some long time ago. I would speak then to this amendment. I would speak against it. I think that the at-large has some merit if you have fewer single-member districts. Then your at-large makes up a significant portion, or at least a recognizable portion of the body. I see these 2 poor little at-large people thrown into a mess of single-member districts, and I don't. I see that as a compromise and not a very workable situation as a functioning body.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mary?
I see it as a compromise also. I much prefer the 11 single members, but I cannot support in any manner a multiple member district or at-large representation,
Mr. Chairman,
except as a minor portion.
Mr. Parsons?
I see it as a compromise too, and as a dog bone minor compromise portion, the way she's written it. It's rather, it defeats the thing by suggesting it as a substitute. It doesn't go into any government philosophy at all. It's throwing a bone to get a vote rather than have a government that works. I think it's a major compromise on multi-member districts as much as it is a compromise on other things that are before us. And is as unworkable as anything that's before us.
Question.
Could the chair state the question? Would you state the question?
But it's
Mary.
an amendment.
Substitute motion for 11 single-member districts, 2 at large with a 3-year term.
Question's been called. Darlis?
No.
Sherry?
No.
Joe? No. Jane?
No.
Bill? Dick? Lisa?
No.
Mary?
No.
No?
Motion. Substitute lost the original motion back on the
You need to
floor.
tell us where we are now.
Oh, we're back to Joe.
It's the amended, it's do it by amendment.
Did you vote, Mr. Chairman? You need to vote.
Yes.
You voted yes?
No, I voted no.
Okay.
Unanimous. We got something unanimous.
Am I right? We're back to the original motion of Lisa. No.
We got the Joe's one.
Joe's one. Refer it back to mine.
10 single-member districts with a 2-year term and 3 at large, right?
I'm sorry, would you read that again?
To provide for 10 single-member districts with a 2-year term and 3 at large.
That's the motion we're voting on there.
That's the
Yeah, that's your
motion.
motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parsons?
I believe this one has a little merit. The size of the at-large is large enough so that, and I still think that with 10 single-member districts, you are accomplishing a representation of small enough areas of the community.
Mr. Chairman?
Darlis?
I intend not to support it. I think it's really kind of interesting. Those that profess the liking for the single member indicate that they can serve really the interest and be known to their people. I find it very strange that all of a sudden we have to have some at large because supposedly then they will represent the interests of the whole community. I think if we go single member and we believe in single members, then we should believe that they can represent the interests of their people as well as the community at large. To admit anything else, I think, would make it impossible to support the single member. I think, too, that there's a very real danger of creating 2 classes of people. This week I'm going to call Mr. At-Large because he really looks at the whole community. The next week I've got a problem with my sewer next door, so I'm going to call my assembly person. So again, I think it goes to what you're saying, and I cannot support them in any form, whether it's 10, 9, 20, or thereabouts.
You know, we don't have a bicameral system, at least I hope we don't come to that. And so we do have a mix that accomplishes what we might otherwise do with a bicameral system. I don't think that that's to be deplored at all. I think this is a reasonable adjustment of the basic system.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I would be a little bit afraid, and maybe someone can calm my fears, but I would be a little bit afraid that if we put in the at-large, we would be saying to the new body, guys who represent single-member districts, it's all right just to think about your district. You don't ever have to really be concerned with the community as a whole, because there are those other guys there that will listen. You're going to count my fear.
Mary was next on that.
I think I'm next on this. I have said that I would not fight a feud at large with the majority of it single-member district. I am trying to state exactly what I mean. I do believe that single-member districts respond just as well to the whole as do elected at large, if you have good people. And I hope that you will get good people. I meant it just as I said it, that it was something I would not fight. And the reason I wouldn't fight it is that I feel that people that have been elected from one-member district, after they are better known, if they are good people, can get elected from an at-large group without putting out the great expense that a beginner would have to get elected the first time. And that's the only reason that I would not fight a few at-large representation. It's not that I think it is the best way, because I do not. I have no intention of voting for it.
Under the heading of calming Sharon Holmes' fears, one of the basic principles, Mr. Chairman, of any parliamentary body is the quality of every member of that body, no matter what constituency he or she comes from. And that works in this commission very well. We represent different constituencies. We have 3 people here at large, and I don't think that it really affects us when we sit down at the table and do our work. Jim and I served in the legislature where we got thousands more votes than some of our peers did because we were running at large from Anchorage. When the legislature convened, it didn't make a particle difference. We were all on an equal footing. And I have been in the Borough Assembly under somewhat comparable situations in my day, and I don't think, one person had 1 vote, and that was that. So I think they would all be equal. I don't think that the 3 at-large people would cut a greater swath than the others. Now, the full-time mayor might, because he has a full-time...
I'll start with James.
Yes. Wait, question. We're not. So standing 3 and 2-year term?
Right. And then 3 and 2-year term.
Okay, yes.
Joe? Yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Alice?
No.
Bill?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, last.
All right. I'm yes. Dick?
I was very confused now. What? I voted no, Mr. Chairman. I do wish you'd go around and say, well, there's no big deal.
I went from here back to there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a problem.
You wanted to...
It's easier. Well, it's easier to keep track of.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we've interrupted the vote now, and the chairman does have the prerogative of voting last. I think we have on any kind of voting.
No.
Lisa?
No.
Mary?
No.
Jim?
Yes.
1, 2, 5. 5.
No.
6 to 5.
6 to 4.
64. Yeah.
6 to 4.
As
Now this
the
becomes,
motion has passed. Now we have
this is the motion, the main motion.
this.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add an amendment to the main motion at this point. And that is does it state that, I don't think it states for the first draft, but I believe it should state that.
Well, I have no objection to that. I think that's what we're
I ask unanimous consent that the motion be amended to stipulate that this would be, this is for purposes of our first draft, public comment.
Is there any objection?
Object.
Be it roll call in? Now I'll go around starting with.
I need a second, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wasn't there a second?
Second.
And a second is
There was an
now.
objection, so there wasn't a second.
Jane seconded, right?
I'll second.
Marlon?
No.
Terry?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Jane?
Yes.
Bill? Dick?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Mary?
I'm afraid I haven't made up my mind what the implications are one way or the other. What do you mean by the first draft? This isn't what we go here through to the vote on, that we might change it in the second draft?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I don't think you can interrupt the vote for further discussion.
Then I'm not voting.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, she may not vote.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, a parliamentary inquiry, can we suspend the vote and start over after my parliamentary inquiry? Can we do that?
Is that right?
No,
Can we
Mr.
do it?
Chairman, there is no interruption of the vote. There is no interruption of the
I
vote.
don't know what I
You
voted
can't make me
on.
vote, because I don't know what the implications are, so you can either start over or quit.
Procedurally, you voted on a procedure that did allow everyone had to vote. That was agreed on.
That is
You called for the unanimous approval of the amendment to Joe's motion.
And you didn't get it, somebody objected, so you didn't get it.
I was projected, you called a roll call, and that's where we're at.
See, I don't
The
even know what
amendment, the amendment to the motion is that it will read for the first draft of the charter.
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman,
you don't need a roll call.
Mr. Chairman,
We have completed our,
If we're going to have a discussion, I'd like to ask the parliamentary question. I made the unanimous consent request because I understood that we had agreed earlier on that in the drafting process, everything we do would be a first draft, would be to the first draft, and then we would have public input and we would go back to the drawing board. I hope not completely, but that was the idea. Now, when Mr. Parsons asked that this be referenced to this particular provision, I assumed that that was already a ground rule, and so I made a unanimous consent request. Am I correct that that is the ground rule, that in all of these motions and in all the work we've done in charter preparation, that we are subject to revision after public? That is the ground.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to say to Mr. Josephson that I misunderstood what he meant by the unanimous consent. I thought that we agreed to the main motion, that we adopted by unanimous consent. So we were not communicating.
This is what my question was. I couldn't figure out what the implication was of what was happening, because it didn't make sense.
Now, my concern was that an earlier motion stated it for this draft, and that's why I was concerned that it be included in this motion as well.
Mr. Chairman, could you restate the motion that's before us and perhaps we'll add to it?
Partly, but if Mrs. Strong is going to refuse to vote,
I won't now, because I know what it's all about.
I want to resign that.
Now I know what we're voting on. I didn't. Therefore, I vote.
I think the motion needs to even ask for unanimous consent. And in actuality, it failed, although it passed, because it didn't get unanimous consent. I can't see how you...
Mr. Chairman, there was misunderstanding.
If the body will ride with me in the fact that I'm not one of the best parliamentarians in the world, I would entertain a new request for unanimous consent.
Yeah, I ask unanimous consent that the
object?
All those in favor? Those opposed?
No.
No. Can't have unanimous consent if somebody has a no.
Why don't you see if that matters?
Why don't you just move?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you will call, all right, the motion failed then. All right, I would move to amend to add the words in the first draft.
Second.
Question.
Question been called. Marlis,
Yes?
Sherry,
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Jane?
Yes.
Bill?
Sure.
Dick?
Sure.
Lisa?
No.
Mary?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. And myself, yes. Motion has passed.
Do we have to move? You know what, do we have to move on the motion?
What about,
Call your attention to the fact that it's now 4 minutes after 10 o'clock.
question on
Where's the main motion?
The main motion, as amended, is to 10, 3, and 3, isn't it? 10, 3, and 2 at large, and 3-year term, or 2-year term.
it hasn't been,
10,
3 and 2.
10, 3, 2.
Oh, okay. Mr. Chairman.
Arliss,
okay.
you're the
Mr. Chairman, I got lost in there. Did we have the vote to make this the main motion as amended?
Yeah, that's the
Yes,
question.
okay. So it is now the main motion as amended.
Main motion as amended. 10, 3, and 2 with, for the first draft. Dick?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what was going on, and I thought we already approved that by document. I'm glad we didn't, because I'm certainly glad that I had an opportunity to speak against the motion. You know, I really think that something substantially different than either system or any system this area has known in the past is going to be disturbing the voters. I'm very disturbed about 13 seats for the body, the legislative body. I'm extremely disturbed about that. I'm less disturbed about the 2-year terms, but I also don't like that very well. I'm not voting against it. I really think it's a terrible system.
Start around, if there's no further discussion, start around with Jim,
Yes.
Mary,
No?
Lisa,
No.
Dick,
No.
Bill,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Arlen,
No.
myself, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 4, right?
Mr. Chairman,
6 to 4.
then that becomes the main motion.
That's the main motion. Well, isn't that
Oh,
what?
no, no, yes.
That's the votes on the main motion.
I insist we have 6 more votes.
One more than you had it.
That was the main motion.
Now, we've made quite a little bit of headway on the subject
Well, it all depends.
tonight. The time is now 10:10.
Let's finish.
5 minutes.
Do you wish to continue and go to the executive, or do you wish to? What's the sense of the body?
Mr. Chairman, I think that we have to continue, just from our time constraints. We just don't have time to have 10 more meetings on this subject.
All right.
So I would move that we adopt in the draft of the charter a strong executive mayor with veto power and a chief administrative officer appointed by the mayor.
Strong executive mayor with veto power and chief administrative officer appointed by the mayor,
Yes.
subject to anything not. Did you say anything? Did you go any further?
I didn't go into confirmation.
Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Jane, second. Is there any discussion?
Well, couldn't,
Bill Sheffield?
Yes, I want to speak against the motion. I think that the full-time mayor with an appointed manager with a legislative body elected, such as the city mayor, and council, city manager, full-time mayor. The mayor's elected full-time, he is part of the legislative body and one vote, but no veto power. I think that if you combine the votes in the time of the election, and if you take the rolling report, that you will see that comes out much stronger than the type of government that the borough now has. So I speak against the
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
All right.
I'm not a fast reader. I haven't finished reading what Mike gave us tonight. I'd like about 5 minutes to read, if you don't mind. I am a slow reader.
We have a motion in front of us, and been moved and seconded, and there's discussion been had. If you wish to take time to read the report of the wrong group, that portion of it presented tonight.
Chairman, I move for 5 minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded for 5 minutes. All those in favor? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to be.
We all can do one. We have a motion on the floor for a strong executive mayor, veto power. And, what else do you have?
Chief administrative officer appointed by the mayor.
Chairman, I would like to propose a substitute motion that it be a strong, full-time elected mayor who is a member of the legislative body and the legislative body appoints the city manager, period.
Mr. Chairman,
Second.
that's substantially different from the other motion.
That's what a substitute motion is.
I'm sorry we don't have an attorney here, but I think you
Really, Mr. Chairman,
changed the
that,
tenor.
when you change the nature of the entire question, it seems to me that doesn't
We've
work.
done that, we've done that.
That's a substitute.
Substitute.
That's a substitute. Yes, we do.
That's right.
see, if you're talking about amendment, that's one thing, but he said a substitute motion or something.
Didn't amend it. Therefore, he doesn't have to stick to the same choice.
Well,
A city council and elected manager and voting.
I'm going to have the answer to that next meeting.
Jim,
I
would
second
you-
that motion, and I'd like to speak on it.
would Jim repeat the motion?
That we have a strong elected mayor who is a member of the legislative body, a voting member of the legislative body, and the legislative body appoints a city manager.
By strong, you mean with veto,
Leave the word strong out there.
And it's seconded by Mr. Sheffield, and Mr. Sheffield would like to speak to the motion.
Well, we know that system works. And the legislative body in that case then has control of the staff, has control of the city manager. In the other case, they do not have. The full-time mayor acts as your ombudsman. Mr. Greer, he's works in development. He does all of the things that you want done without additional people doing it. And I think that the system has worked for years, and I really do hope that you do. That's that motion.
Jane?
Is the intention of your motion that the legislative body then have the administrative responsibility for the government?
No, the city manager does.
Okay. Well, it's just when you said strong there, I didn't know who was doing it.
We left the word strong out. Full-time is the right phrase.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak against that motion. What was the name of the gentleman that was from that National League that we spoke to? Anyhow, you know who I'm talking about. When Mr. Keenan, yeah, she's right, Keenan spoke with those of us who met him for dinner, and we asked him to objectively go over the characteristics that tended to go with various forms of executive and legislative combinations. I think he hit the nail on the head as far as my observations are concerned, and is the feeling that I have that he was right when he said that the tendency was that when you went with a organization like Jim is proposing, that worked just ducky, where you had a stable situation where the people in the community did not have greatly diverse feelings, where what has been happening is what you want to continue to happen. For example, the school board and the superintendent has exactly the same sort of relationship as was pointed out in one of our hearings. And it tends to be a fairly open rubber stamp of what the manager thinks is best. I do not believe in that. I think this community is a changing community. I think it does have very diverse feelings over the width and length and breadth of the thing. And I think that the vetoing mayor is more responsive to this diversity of feeling and is capable of keeping the administration working toward the objectives that he and the majority of the legislative body want. I can't go along with the others because I do feel it is a sort of status quo sort of thing.
I think Mary recalls correctly that it becomes more of a board of directors of an ongoing corporation that is stable. He did make words to that, but he also indicated, if I recall correctly, that the form most prevalent for cities up to 500,000 seems to be the council manager form of government, because it works.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a further comment. He did say that it was the most present. He also said both forms work.
Further discussion, Bill?
I just want to make a comment. We're down to 9 members. The reason why we canceled a meeting last Thursday and wanted to meet tonight was so we have a full commission. Rich and I have been here on this stuff. And I don't want to see us go on these things until we have a full commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Mary?
we are 11 members in total. If we try the tentative vote and came down to 6 for one form or the other, it would probably be a strong enough majority to go with. If we don't come out with 6, we obviously don't necessarily have the majority of the commission with us, and perhaps we could then take a later vote to get a final vote from the vote if necessary.
Looking at the rules of
Is that
procedure,
possible?
I couldn't tell you whether that's possible or not. Is there anybody here that can?
Is there any reason why?
I'm sorry,
The question,
I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention.
I don't know whether we can, if it passes, it's 6-3, it passes, as far as I'm concerned. If there's
It's 5-4.
5-4, it passes.
No, that's not the rule.
Requires it, requires the full. We have a motion on the floor.
Substitute motion that the elected full-time mayor, we have a voting, be a voting member of the legislative body, the legislative body appoints the city manager. This thing,
Speedy?
I think that one of the weaknesses of the whole system is that the legislative body chooses, makes decisions based on the source of the manager, brings before the legislative body. And he and his staff may have very well eliminated many possibilities by the time it gets to the legislative body, so that instead of seeing a broader picture, they are subject to the information that the manager chooses to provide them. And there is no such thing as a check or a balance within the government, such as the veto power of an administrative mayor provides. And in the days of suspicious government, I think that we need a check or a balance like that. So it's really against the system.
Is there further discussion? Question is called for. And I will go alphabetically. Jane?
No.
Dick?
No.
Mary?
No?
Sherry?
No.
Joe?
Aye.
Lisa?
No.
Jim?
Yes.
I'm yes. Bill?
Yes.
4-5. Motion then fails. Is there a
Question and a motion. Yes.
back to me?
Mr. Chairman? Although I voted for the substitute, I will now vote for Mrs. Holmes' motion because I think that the question is
mayor has a veto power. He has certain prerogatives there. So that I refrained from speaking earlier because I really think that probably this is what the witness Mr. Strong was speaking of was really getting to, that these alternative systems will work as a question of good leadership.
Is there further discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I feel much the same way that Joe does, and it just becomes a point of personal choice without any great benefit attached to it.
Mr. Chairman, I would recall what our surveyor said, or I believe he said last week, which was that while there was particular sentiment about the district meeting, we really don't have strong community feeling one way or the other on this issue. People tend to choose what they've lived under, but probably could live under a different system.
Further discussion?
Well, I don't know if I don't know, I read it on page 52 of this green book I got here, where it says that 40% of the people that you surveyed wanted to manage the affordability.
I believe, I don't have my book, but I believe it came out even on this question. 34 to 34 or 30.
Well, I don't know, you've got to combine 33.4 and 6.5. One's appointed manager full-time there, one's appointed manager part-time there. You add those two together, you get 40%.
You also have to combine the other two.
And add the other two, and come up with even Stephen.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the survey doesn't help much because I think, maybe I'm being redundant, but I think I'm sure I am. But Mr. Roman said that there's no real consensus that would affect the vote.
That's what he said the other night, and that's what he said in his report to us tonight. He re-said what he thought it was going to be the other night. I just wanted to make sure he hadn't changed his mind after looking more detailed than other than he has.
The chair feels very strongly on this, so for the moment, we'll turn the chair over to Mr. Josephson, if I may, and speak to the question. I do feel very strongly that the mayor manager type is far better operation than the other type, and I would speak against the motion, and I hope that members of the commission would look at it very carefully, because I believe that the manager, city manager type of government has functioned very well in the city bank region, and I believe far better than has the borough type government or the strong regional type government. I would much prefer to see the city manager type government.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there further discussion?
I'd like to comment on your statement that you think it has worked better, that you think the vetoing mayor in the borough has not worked as well. I would like to make a comment that had you not had a vetoing mayor in the borough form of government would have long ago been swallowed by the city council that served upon. And I has acted as a balance. And I guess I have just about as strong feelings the other way as you have your way, Frank. That's what I'm trying to say.
Am I supposed to hear? Yes. Is there further discussion from someone who has not spoken to this? Second.
I think that the question of whether or not unification applies should probably enter into the conversation, because if the outside votes, the outside city residents perceive that the management form of government is centralized and viewed as a bigger government, that will lose the votes. And particularly with the river probably voting in this one, I would suspect that that community will never vote for a charter that provides for city management form. Primarily because it's viewed as the consolidation of government and it's away from them.
So, further discussion, Mr. Reed?
Mr. Chair, please, I would like to say that I think that there are a great many people outside the city itself that do would prefer the city type government. I've heard it many times that my folk, as Mary puts it, as Judy puts it, are very strong for the city government. I think they do have a very strong feeling.
Are you ready for the question? Yeah. The question is on Mrs. Holmes' motion. As I understand it, it is for a mayor with veto power, full-time, who employs an administrator. Is that correct? The question is, shall Mrs. Holmes' motion be adopted? Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Brony?
Yes.
Mrs. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
No.
Mr. Reed?
No.
Mr. Sheffield?
No.
Ms. Ankman?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. By 6 yeas and 3 nays, the motion is adopted.
I'd like to change my vote and ask for reconsideration. You don't have to give them. No, I failed on the fairness of at the next regular meeting.
The purpose,
The purpose is because we're missing 2 charter commissions.
I will give notice of reconsideration as a courtesy so that those who are absent can be heard from. I would only hope that if I'm not there, the matter will be held over until we have 11 people.
Have you returned the chair to me?
Yes.
Sherry?
it's curious to me a bit because 6 is a majority of the commission and is passed with 6, so it won't make any difference in how the motion carries so long as those who voted today vote this way. And I know that one of the 2 absent members feels quite strongly on the surveilling side and can't cast a proxy vote certainly, but feels strongly.
The regular meeting would be tomorrow night.
Pardon?
And the next regular meeting is tomorrow night.
That's right.
The next regular meeting also is tomorrow night, and Mrs. Sturgill will be gone, and Mr. Josephson will be gone. And I don't know what day they're gone.
move in unanimous consent that the reconsideration be taken up at the call of the chair when we next have 11 commissioners present.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like some direction. If that happens, what does the Charter Production Committee do? Do we draft as if this carried?
Yep.
Certainly.
Did.
I mean, it did, but
Yes.
Is there a second to the,
There was no objection. I don't hear any.
no objection being heard? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Sherry what we intend to do about one thing that's very important to me, and I don't know if a major issue, that the appointed executive be affirmed by the Assembly or by the legislative body. Is that what you left it out?
I left it out. I don't know why I left it out. It would be my feeling that it should be
Left out or put in?
put in.
Should we?
The chief administrative officer should be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the...
Mr. Chairman, let me make a motion that be the case, and just to give the term, the production committee guidance, that the
Your motion
administrative officer be affirmed by the Assembly,
by the mayor.
or be ratified, I think might be a better word, ratified by the legislative body.
By the legislative body.
No, it does not.
This is the big motion.
He asked if this occurred now. I answered to him and said, no, it does not. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question specifically of you. Do you think this gives a little bit of the type of responsiveness that you value in the city? I see problems with it.
You mean the appointment by
The manager that is appointed by the mayor, if he is not responsible directly to the mayor, but instead is responsible to the legislative body, you have authority is ratified by the legislative body.
Confirmed.
Now, I want to know whether the legislative body can fire him, or whether only the mayor can fire him.
It would seem to me only the mayor can fire a man at a point. He's ratified by the body, but he's not there.
But he serves with the pleasure of the mayor. All right, so long as I understand this, I don't mind this being ratified by the body.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to use the word confirm there in front of my second read. My second.
Who was the second? Jane was. Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Question has been called for. Trustee, this was started with
It starts this time, I believe, with Mary.
started with Dick last time. Mary?
Okay.
Sherry?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lisa? Is that no?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
No? Bill?
Yes. I can hear one yes there, and I know. Not a negative personality, I think so. I forgot, I had to start over that wheels go over that. Sorry.
Yes.
And Dick?
Yes. I'll be better.
Frank, did you vote for Rump? Was your vote a Rump?
Chairman, may I make a report before I leave on the river matter?
Yeah.
I called Mr. Jordan, and he was unable to arrange a Monday night meeting. Said they have a executive session in the river. But I suggested that he call you at the bank tomorrow and try to set something up over the weekend and have you notify the Charter Commission. And I advised him to move the river.
Is there anything further?
The rest, as we do something in the notice, published in the Fairbanks,
Mr. Chairman, before people leave, I would like to schedule with my Charter Production Committee a meeting for tomorrow noon or Friday noon. We need to draft things and have them ready for a Tuesday noon meeting. And if our attorney would work on that. Well, I would think that we ought to work on the the executive and the composition articles. So I'd like a sense of the body as to who could be at a Thursday meeting and who could be at a Friday meeting. First Thursday, who could be at a Thursday?
You talking full or Charter Commission?
Charter
Production Committee.
Production Committee and anyone else. That's
anyone else?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
Wednesday, all day.
I can't either.
Okay, Fred, will you be there?
Either day.
Okay.
I could Friday, but I can't. I have a dental appointment tomorrow at 12.
Mary?
What time?
Bill, could you be there?
I could tomorrow, but I couldn't on Friday. I can't think I can on Friday.
You can't on Friday. Okay, well, I can get more of my regular committee tomorrow. Let's say noon.
Yeah.
Would you prefer to meet at the ABC boardroom? Would that be
Why don't you take the office this
or
time?
the office?
The office, I think, would be better.
Okay, we can start using.
Start using that.
Okay.
Our office down.
Yeah.
529 people pop in to use that parking space. We have 2 spots that are ours, but feel free to take any additional ones except the 2 farthest in nearest the street and the one opposite it nearest to St. Francis House. Anything else, you're competing with people who are just pulling in there to use the thing for Harbor House. And it's not part of their contract till after 5.
Okay.
So it's ours as much as it is theirs or more.
One next to St. Francis House, next to the street, and the 2 next to the street opposite.
And if you want to pull in under the shed, because I won't be there.
That's your place.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, are we about to adjourn?
Yes.
We're about to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, were we going to have...
One of the things we're going to have to address is what do we do with the results of rolling surveys and how do we handle that in the future. I talked to Mike about it, and one of the things that he suggested was that he's writing reports on different major areas, such as the one we received tonight. There'll be another one on taxation, another one on the role of citizen participation, since that appeared to be a major concern in survey. Anyway, that there would be a group of people or individuals who are most interested in that particular area who would work out either press releases or speeches that they would like to deliver to different people on that particular segment. His reports will be ready tomorrow, and we can direct Eddie to draw press releases from those reports, which give the explanation to the data that we derive at when we have before us, that those should start, appearing in the paper so that people have an understanding of what we're doing. Along the same lines of just general profile, I think every should be directed to make sure that we're in the what's happening in Anchorage column and that our meeting schedule appears. It never has, as far as so people have a clue about when we meet, how often we meet, where we meet. And that should have been taken care of a long time ago. One of the other things that Mike suggested at the other meeting was that we start considering it as a matter, and I think the committee can take care of it, but I was telling you that we start drawing up simple resolutions that say, these are the basic things that the Charter Commission has discussed, this is the intent of the direction. It could either take the form of resolution or something along the lines of a Bill of Rights that tell particularly the citizen where he fits into this whole thing that we're drawing up. And I would work with the committee and just drawing up either those resolutions to be passed by the commission or something to be included in the Bill of Rights. And if that's the case, I think we have to start talking right now about public hearings and the distribution of the first draft of the charter, which supposedly will be ready in, say, 2 weeks. The first thing that's necessary is just setting up some method of either printing the thing or getting it Xeroxed and having as many copies of it available in raw, anybody who wants it. That the distribution of those will have to be worked out with the paper. A summary of it perhaps could be directed to the TV stations, the radio stations, corresponding with interviews by people. But the whole thing has to be, this is the work, this is the main idea is, how you react to it, what are the things that you're feeling about it. But the distribution of that is really vital prior to the time that we start setting up any public hearings, because people will have not had any time to react to it. So that if we come out there and the first time they ever see the charter is that night, it's not going to do any of us any good to be in public hearing. Then I have some suggestions for the advertising of those meetings, different than what we did last time, and having a broader coverage with the media. But I would like to know when anybody who's done public information or wants to be on public information, when they would like to meet to work out some of those details. And I'm going to bind time-wise this week and Monday or next week, but starting Tuesday, I'm in better shape.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Fisher?
I'd move for acceptance of the committee report and the adoption of the recommendations of the committee.
Second.
Seconded. Accept the committee report. Adopt the recommendations of the committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Bartlett?
I hope it does not imply that we have accepted Mr. Rowland's things, because I haven't seen them yet, and for everybody to be drawing a press release on those things. I talked to Mike yesterday, and I have not seen materials you talked about, but he seems to be coming up with some stuff.
What I'm saying is that what Mike does is give their analysis of the raw data that we have in the report.
Question? Question called, is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Call roll, please. Jay,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
pass.
Okay, and just one other brief thing, I know it's well sort of like public information. Lisa and I went to the preliminary community council meeting last night, just to talk to them about what they're doing as far as their own community council is concerned. And it was really interesting because they were in favor of some sort of inclusion of community council type provision in the charter. It's the first time I've ever run up against anybody who confused the comprehensive plan with the charter commission. But it was a serious problem because the guy ended up saying, all right, if I don't like the comprehensive plan, then I should vote against the charter. And that, trying to change that logic was something else. And one of the problems we raised, which we might want to think about, is the comp plan is coming up right now for public hearing and will be probably before the assembly in May, at the same time that we're doing public hearing on the charter. And we could end up with more confusion generated along those lines. Because people assume that this comprehensive plan, and if they don't like it especially, is the same thing that's going to be governing the next time around, and trying to explain how all the ordinances had to be reviewed again is really something else. But we might want to watch our own schedule so that we aren't competing with the comp plans for our public hearings.
Mr. Chairman, I have gotten enough reverberations in relation to the comprehensive plan that I think it might be desirable of this body to make a resolution requesting the Assembly to postpone its consideration of the comprehensive plan until after the election in August, so that the two are not confused.
Really get into a hassle there, I think.
Oh, man, I don't know that that would resolve the confusion at all. I think if there's a chance we can get rid of the vote on it before, like months before we talk about unification, we're in much better stead.
We should just work in the assembly.
Besides, which realistically, I don't think it's something we're doing.
And
Well,
they
I have felt that the comprehensive plan should be adopted as soon as reasonably possible. For years. Seems like years.
Jim, did you have anything on your,
But the Rollins, I talked to both of them, and they are quite cooperative in working with the urban observatory. Rick Anders from that group, Eddie talked to him yesterday, and evidently they are getting involved in more things than they thought originally, and would be glad to look over the results and to work with the Rollins, but they're not quite as eager to take us on as they were initially.
I was in a meeting with them today with, it was Rollins and Urban Observatory Institute, Socioeconomic Research, all.
Fisher,
Yeah, all talking about
Data Bank.
communication, and then they seem to be following very well.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question before we adjourn, please. You're to try to get together with the Eagle River folks. How many could meet on a Sunday afternoon? We didn't question that. We were pretty short on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon, but I don't think the question was ever asked on Sunday afternoon.
how many could meet on Sunday afternoon? 2, 3, 4.
I can't.
This should be about the same.
About the same. I just thought we could move on.
Sure.
Is that okay?
I would still consider, if we have the public hearing on Thursday, meeting before the public hearing with the assembly, they are the ones who have made the schedule so difficult to meet rather than we. And we,
Just set the time.
well, they can't meet Wednesday night
And Monday night.
and Monday night. That leaves Tuesday night. I don't want to go up there 2 times tonight.
Well, they're going to come here the other time, remember?
Well, if they come here Tuesday night, I don't know.
We do it early Tuesday, before 8 o'clock. I'm gonna get kicked out of Concord planning with that. These 3 meetings in a row, kick it out.
Maybe Tuesday, we'll try.
Move for Jim.
No second is needed, we are adjourned.